This came into the workshop with an error code as C6756, which is an issue with the scanner. So what the plan is to get this rear cover off. It takes 2 screws to do so and a bunch of clips. It can be a bit fiddly, but once you get that rear cover off, you can make a start on it. Obviously the machine was partially in bits already, but that cover on the top does not need to come off, and we'll put that back on at the end. So taking a couple of screws off, I'm having a feel around at the moment to see if I can figure out how this back cover comes off. I found out that you bang a little screwdriver in there just to get the clip off. So pull it from the right hand side from the back, and you can see it wants to come away now, and just wiggle it, then clip it, and off it pops finally. Probably the hardest part of the job, just getting that cover off. Now once that rear cover has been removed, we need to unplug a few connectors, an earthing wire and a couple of brackets to get access to the cables which are fed through from the actual scanner and document feeder into the back of the machine. So I was just having a quick look around, see how it all comes off. I was just checking to see what cable's routed through to the document feeder. See what needs to be unplugged. Now take the earthing screw off and then remove the cable, just let it loose, and then just put the screw back in so I knew where it was at. So I'm just unplugging a cable there. And then a few clips that hold the USB cable. And unplug that too. It's a old USB like you get on say a PlayStation 3. You know, to charge your controller, it's the same as that. So bunch of screws now, get these brackets off. There's only one screw for this bracket, it's hooked in from the left. The other cover takes a few more screws. Another connector there. I'm having another look to see what else needs to come off at this point before I realise that cover does need to come off. I'm undoing another connector there and unplugging another USB cable. You can't get them mixed up, you can't get them the wrong way around. There's me taking note to see how long it took me to do the job there. So a few screws, pop that off, and there's a harness FFC style cable that goes into the scanner. You need to pinch that, there's 2 of them I think. You have to pinch them together from the sides. I was just having a look to see how it did come off there. Right, the document feeder can be removed now. The cables just feed through the hole there. Just have to be careful not to catch on anything. Now we're going to take the top of the scanner unit off. Basically it houses the platen, which is that big piece of glass in there. So some of the screws have already been taken out before I touch the machine. There's the 3 at the front at the top, and then obviously the 2 at the sides and the 2 at the back on the top. They're all black screws. The ones I'm taking off just now are the screws that are underneath the document feeder. There's 4 there. So we pop that off, and we've got access at this point to the actual scanner itself. Now what we're doing here is there is a damage to the actual harness cable, and we need to replace that cable. The kit consists of 2 connectors, that cable I'm touching now, and the black housing that holds the scanner itself. I'll put the part numbers in the description of what's needed for it. And I'm just moving the scanner into the middle. I'm just having a look here so I get a better look at what's going on. That cable needs to come off. So it's on a tension on the right hand side, so you can just pull at the cable a little bit and it'll just pop off. At this point you can turn the scanner upside down. And what we're going to do is we're going to swap a couple of bits off and move them to another bracket. Now I'm having a look, see the FFC cable that's plugged in here. I'm just having a look, see double-sided sticky tape that's holding it in place. I'm just pulling it off. Being a little stubborn for me. So we need to remove the cable. We need to move that bracket, that white bracket that rests on the shaft, the scanner shaft, or the scanner rail. We need to remove that harness FFC cable, which is another connector that you pinch. Just remove it. And there's two springs in there. They're still attached at the moment. We swap them over as well. Those two springs we save for later. Here's the new one. I was taking a look to see, comparing them both, because it was given to me to replace. I couldn't see any difference between them. I'm not sure why I got the actual bracket. I'm not sure if you need it. However, I did fit it anyway. So I swapped everything over from the old bracket to the new one, which, as mentioned earlier, the little white bracket that sits on the rail, and also the cable, the drive cable, and the two springs. So it's one screw. It wasn't self-tapped, so you have to put a bit of effort into that. Current the threads as you put it in, basically. Remember, don't over tighten, just tighten it and no more. Here we go, I take the cable off at this point. And just pop it on. I lost some footage here, so of me basically swapping everything out over. The SD card was all corrupted, so I just circled some items, what needed to be done, and then basically you can pause the picture if need be. So I've refitted the FFC cable, new connector on the end of the FFC cable, which I'll cover on the other end of the cable in a second, but at this point I'm removing the old FFC cable. That connector on the end needs to be detached to get it through the hole to remove the FFC cable. The new cable doesn't have the connector on the end. It is advised not to use the old connectors with a new FFC cable. So there we go, that's off at this point. And I'm now going to feed through the new FFC cable through the same hole I took the old one out from. Now once I get this eventually pushed through, the end of the FFC cable needs a connector refitted to it. You can't push it through without. You can't push it through first. You have to push the cable through first before you put the connector on, because it doesn't fit through the gap. So you pop that on, and then it just clips closed, and then you can just push it back into the connector into the board. Now, this part here, there's a piece of double-sided sticky tape, and it's important to make sure that it is stuck down against the frame correctly, because the scanner will move from left to right. Just pop that on, all lines up as it should. Now we can pop the actual platen back on. And now the document feeder, or ADF. Just resting it gently and feeding all the cables through, making sure that you don't trap them. Best to just take your time, take photos when you're taking things apart, so you can refer back to your phone to make sure you're putting everything as it should be. Using the trusted spring hook just to pull through the cables. Just reconnecting all the connectors that I taken off before. That's the earth wire refitted. And the brackets. That's me going around tightening them up. Put them all on loose first. Checking the document feeder moves properly and it sits correctly. Checking all the cables are fed through and they're not trapped in any way or form. This little clip had come out of its housing, so I was just popping that back on. That was a little fiddly, and then plug it back in, as in the little USB cable. Yeah, just couldn't get that to sit right at all. Got there in the end. There's the other bracket. One screw pops in on the left and then screwed in on the right side of the bracket. That was me just feeding the cables back through the clips, the USB cable. Pop that in, sit it all correctly. Just a quick recap there on why I stripped the machine. The machine had an error code of C6756, which is the scanner. It could also be C9701, and on this occasion the actual FFC harness cable had a kind of a cut in it, if you like, a break in it. So we had to strip it down, replace the cable and rebuild it. So here goes the back cover, which was fun taking off. Just getting all the clips to sit correctly and position everything correctly before popping the screws back in. So 2 screws in total for the back cover, the rest are just clips. Now, this is how the machine arrived. So basically I was just putting the screws back in that were left with me, and then put the top cover back on for the document feeder as well. You don't have to take that off at all. I don't think you have to take it off anyway. Alright, just double checking. Bang the screws back in. 3 in the front. 2 others on the side. 2 at the back, on the top. The 2 screws at the back I did off camera with a shorter screwdriver. Quick wipe over, get all the finger marks off. Plug her in, switch her on, do a little bit of testing. The video was shortened a little bit. It's not that quick. Get booting up. Comes up with the error code. Does a self-recovery. And then what we did is we printed something off, double-sided, and then I put it in the document feeder and copied it double-sided to make sure that the scanner moves across properly and that it can read the image on both sides. I was just printing the print counter there, and as I say, it was tricking me by taking it back in, which is what it does. There we go. Quick photocopy, double-sided. And that's it. Machine's working, tested, and it was returned. Thanks for watching.